Hi, I'm Anita LaBelle, Assistant Director of the New Jersey Film Festival, and I'm here with experimental filmmaker Albert Gabriel Nigrin. It's weird saying your full name because I'm so used to saying Al, but Al has been making films for decades now, and you've started out kind of when you were a student, right? But now you became a professor and you've been making films, and I wonder what it's like to be making films for all that long time and now having a retrospective that we're making at the festival. Does it feel weird to go back to the original films, or?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about being a filmmaker is you see that there's certain things that you really like and they always creep back into your work. There are leitmotifs that I think signal certain things that you like. I love the spiral. I love revolution. I like stripes and geometric patterns. So I think that's in all of my work. And the retrospective is really about the fact that I'm working again because there was a hiatus that I took for personal reasons. I mean, I went through life headaches, and making films, transitioning from making films to making digital films was not something that I made an easy transition to. But I've always really liked to make films, and I feel the muse is with me again, and I'm really happy to be making movies again.
Well, I'm glad you're making more. I feel like there's been some overarching themes in your films. In some of your earlier films, like Cold War Blues, that's almost an animation, but I feel like that film and your more recent films like Dream Screen, they're all kind of collages. I think that whether you're doing actual stop motion or you're doing projections and found footage, they all sort of have this collage feel. Do you approach films going in saying, I want to make an experimental collage, or is it sort of the narrative first? Like, how do you approach the start?
Excellent question. I've been a collagiste for a long, long time. And in fact, the experimental filmmaking class I teach at Rutgers, the first thing the students are asked to do is to create collages. Because I think it's all about stripping away reality, and when you're cutting out pictures, it kind of focuses on specific objects and things that you think are important to you, and it's about stripping away reality so you can focus exactly on what you want the viewer to see. So yeah, I'm a collagiste for sure.
What do you want the viewer to see? Speaking of like making it smaller and focusing in on something, is there something that you find you keep going back to? Like you mentioned spirals, or I know you feature a lot of female and duos in your work. Is there something that you want the viewer to kind of focus in on?
I love to make dream films, and the films are always meant to be the subconscious ruminations of an individual or individuals. And some of my early films had two women dreaming the same dream. Another film that I made was a woman, she sleeps of this troubled encounter with this person at a cathedral, which was shot at the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. My most recent films are also dream films. Person is sleeping, we see what they're dreaming. And so I think that's the main impetus. I like dream because there are no narratives usually in dreams. They're very loose. And I love to have the viewer be a co-creator, so they fill their own experiences into the kind of Swiss cheese narratives that I create for them.
So when it comes to making these films, do you ever try to incorporate your previous films, or is it always just looking forward?
It just kind of happens that way. There's all sorts of leitmotifs, images that reappear. I love reflecting mirror sunlight into the camera lens. That's something I've been doing since 1985. And I made a whole film using that technique. I thought, well, why should it just be for 1 second? Why not make an entire film that way? So yeah, I mean, I try to expand upon certain themes and ideas that I've had earlier and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know that speaking of dreams and experimental films, you've been inspired by Maya Deren in the past. But I wondered if you feel like your films are ever autobiographical, because I can see the inspiration from other filmmakers, but what about your own life? Does that inspire your films?
I think every artist does that. They infuse themselves into their work, and I'm no different. I like to cloak a lot of what I'm doing. I think my wife figures out a lot of what's going on. So she's very close to me. We've been together for as long as the film festival's been in existence. So I think she can read a lot of the autobiographical elements. But I think I really want the viewer to come away with their own experience. And that's how I think experimental films differ from narrative films, where you're given the story with a beginning, middle, and an end. And you're kind of like the donkey trying to grab the carrot that's being strung out in front of you. For me, I don't give them any carrot. They have to kind of find their own.
That's a fun way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, your wife has been a star of your films, and she's also, in more recent years, taken on the role with editor and costume designer. How has that collaboration been throughout your entire filmography, basically?
She was my first muse. We fell in love. I made movies to kind of underscore our love early on. And she's been my greatest supporter, and she's the one, make a film. This person would be wonderful for you in this film. So she's been a real staunch ally. I couldn't do what I do without her. Irene Pfizer's her name. She's an English professor too, so.
So I know that you have a love of music. I mean, you have this insane knowledge of films, but also of music. Is there anything in the future you want to do with music? Maybe making the soundtrack for your own films, or maybe writing your own music? I know your brother's also a musician, but I wonder
Both
if
of my brothers are musicians. My brother Dan is a techno musician, and my brother Mike is an accomplished bassist. And he did some of my early scores. They're both kind of not interested in doing that anymore, so I've been scoring my own stuff. And I've reached out to Marissa Nadler, who's somebody who I really admire as a musician, and she's probably going to score the next film that I'm making. But making my own music, if it's in tandem with images, yes.
So I just wondered if you could, looking back over your whole body of work, if there's something that comes to mind about what's for the future, or if there's something that you hope to do in the next coming years, if there's anything left, because I feel like you've done animation, you've done collages, posters, film festivals. I wonder if there's anything you're excited to do moving forward.
I love working with young people, and I've been mentoring a number of students at Rutgers University. This has kind of rekindled an interest in working with film. I love shooting people who have interesting faces, so I think that's been really great, because I have a wealth of people to work with, and it's been really a joy. I think as far as the future goes, I'm really excited to be creating images for concerts, which is something that started last year, and we are looking forward to continuing that, because the film festival is really out to try to do audiovisual concerts, so I think that's probably the future.
Speaking of the film festival, your incredible retrospective will be happening at the New Jersey Film Festival, which will be taking place at Voorhees Hall at Rutgers University. The film festival is both an online and in-person festival, with screenings happening for 24 hours online or in person every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from September 6th through October 18th. You can find more information at the website of njfilmfest.com. You just have to type that in, scroll down to current events, and click on where it says tickets and info, and you can find the whole schedule and details about the films, as well as Q&As with the filmmakers. And hopefully, that's also where you can see Albert's incredible work and his retrospective, which will be happening on September 27th. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you.